Hi, legal besties. Welcome to Ladies in Law. I'm Michaela Dixon.
And I'm Allison Melendez.
And we are now filming for season 2. This season, we are focusing on how you can be your authentic self, how you cannot lose your softness, and continuing our discussion on the intricacies of being female professionals in a heavily male-dominated field. We are back for part 3 with our guest,
Drum roll.
Jody Weber.
I know. We are so grateful to have you back for part 3. In part 1, we talked a little bit about your background, your qualifications. Part 2, we focused on how we can be the best advocate. How we can best show up. Yeah, I know. It kind of sounded a little bit stronger, huh? How we can be our best advocate. Wait, oh my God. Wow. How we can advocate best for our clients. And this one, we're going to kind of talk about how we can best show up for ourselves so that we can show up in our best to then best advocate for our clients. How many times can I say best?
How many times can we say advocate today?
I know. So, let's get a little bit into a term that is called compassion fatigue. So, as we show up for our clients, we will be hearing a lot of traumatic events that they've experienced. And I think it's only natural to take on a little bit of that. I think like one of the things I say a lot is like every therapist needs a therapist, and not that we're holding ourselves out to be a therapist, but when you are constantly told heaviness, it's hard to not hold on to that. So can you maybe talk about what compassion fatigue is and how we can kind of work to, I don't know if we can ever really combat it, but make sure that we are in a good place to receive it and also recognize when maybe we need to pour back into ourselves?
Absolutely. I think that when you're looking at compassion fatigue and burnout, the difference between the two is that compassion fatigue are, like you said, it's the professions that are receiving traumatic information often and consistently. So what it does is it manifests itself in each of us very differently. So for some, it could just be, that complete desensitization to information that is being given, or oversensitive to the emotion, almost like you're experiencing it, like you were the one that had experienced it. So it shows up in you can, lack of sleep, or you're just really irritable at your person or your people. I mean, it just looks like a lot of, it looks different in each of us, I'll say, a lot of different scenarios. So for me, being in this profession, I have found what works for me. Because you can go online and it will tell you, get your endorphins working and work out and, all the things, journal. That might not work for you. So it's finding what does. So for me, it's, after a busy day or, a day where perhaps I have received a lot of emotions, because I'm an empathetic person. So I'm going to take on the energy and the emotion from the person that's sitting across from me. And when you see, like we all do, a lot of clients with a lot of emotions, that does weigh on us. So for me, after work, when I am driving home, I am in a silent car. I almost don't even want like the noise in my head. Like I'm just asking for silence. And so I feel myself resetting. And sometimes if the drive home is not long enough, then I will go a little further or go a little longer, whatever it takes for me to feel like I have processed through what I need to and hit that reset button, then fantastic. If I haven't, then I have a person at home that is very willing to process through some of the emotions that I have taken on and that I'm feeling, and perhaps, triggered me. Because even though, like you said, yes, I believe we all need therapy. Our therapists need therapists.
Mm-hmm.
like the rest of us, you know.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's just knowing that you're getting a lot of information that is going to potentially affect you, and so processing through that. Take a hot bath, a long walk, read. Another one of my favorite things is jump into the life of the character in the book you're reading, you know. So I think it's very important. I mean, my favorite analogy, and it's one that's overused, I realize at this point in time, is when you're on an airplane and those oxygen masks come down, you know, as a first instinct, I would want to put it on my children or those people around me, but you have to put it on yourself first so that you can help the others around you. So yeah, it's just finding whatever that reset is on the daily.
I love that so much because I think just like on social media, you see all of these really expensive things. It's like, you need this infrared this, or you should buy a sauna, or you should like all of these
bath.
things that are advertised. Yeah, literally, literally, where it's like, yes, where it's like advertised and all these things, and it just doesn't seem like attainable. But what you're saying is so actionable. Like you can really take that and just be in the car for longer, or just put on your favorite song, just dance it out, just do these things that might not take that much time, but might just be that good reset. But I think also what's important in what you're talking about is that you have taken the time to find what does fill your cup for you. And I'm sure that there was a trial and error. Because like you were like, oh, journaling or this, and that might work for some, but it might not work for others. And I think we need to also like extend grace to ourselves and also be patient, because I think sometimes, and this is my experience, like if someone tells me, oh, I do this, if I try it and it's not working for me, I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like, why isn't this making me feel better? But if you extend yourself grace and you're like, oh, this just isn't my thing, that doesn't discredit it being theirs, and it doesn't make me less than because it doesn't work for me. It's just I need something different. You know, like you need silence. I need to put on my favorite song. Like I need to just like melt into that, you know, where I think it's just like knowing that like it's going to be a trial and error, and knowing that like there's nothing wrong with you if something's not working. You just haven't found your thing yet, but it's going to feel so good when you do.
I also love
and being open to the fact that it changes over time, you know, where it's like, some days I might want music. I might want to hear that song that always makes me want to dance, or you know, just being present with yourself and knowing what you need in that moment. A hot bath. Sometimes I do journal. Sometimes I have so much to say, I'm like, I better start writing.
Yeah.
Kind of like, you know, I don't feel like writer's cramp, you know. So yes, it's understanding what works, but also being open to find other things if that isn't working for you.
I really loved how you also said that you sort of reset before you come home, because I think, especially like just from my personal experience, my husband and I both have very demanding jobs. And so when he comes home, I don't want to talk about work. I need that, like I need him to be that safe space where we just talk about something else aside from work, because I've been thinking about work for so long and talking about work for so long. And so whenever I know that he's like getting close to coming home, like I just do like a mental reset. I'm like, all right, this is like family time. And I really try to compartmentalize. Wow, that was hard to get out. But really just spend that time with him, because we don't have so much of it. Like he comes home fairly late at night, so we just have a few hours during the evening before we start doing the whole bedtime routine with Camila. And so just that reset, I love that language, just resetting so that you're also showing up for your people, because the last thing you want is to bring work with you and bombard them at the end of their day as well.
So true. I think also very prevalent in what you're saying, Allison, is boundary setting. You know, because it's probably, that's not something that just like happened. You know, like you probably sat down and talked with your husband and you were like, hey, like I need us to do this for my mental health. Like, can you help me enforce this? Or can you show up for me in this way? And I can, you know, do the same for you. And I think that's so important, is that boundary setting. And I kind of want to get into that on how we can enforce them, how we can make sure that they are respected, and how to even just establish them in the first place.
I think that is so important. Boundaries are something that, you know, when we set them in our personal lives, it's not, you know, I think a lot of times we'll view it as being selfish, right? Like, I'm telling you what I need. And really, it's really a love language. I mean, it's really something like, if I know that I am crossing a boundary with you, then I am disrespecting you. And I don't want to do that. So it's just really keeping the lines of communication open and revisiting it, because boundary lines can become blurred. In our professions, probably the second most important thing, the most important being rapport building, the second being establishing boundaries. And that is part of having that respect and professionalism that we need in our professional roles. And I think even as women, you know, boundaries are, that is something that I wanted to empower my daughters to feel very comfortable with. Because a lot of times, you know, with our little girls, we're raising them like, give them a hug, you know, make sure, you know, that, no.
Be
If they don't feel
polite.
like it, not okay, you know. So I'm a big advocate of setting those boundaries and remaining comfortable and confident enough to hold that line. And sometimes it's very uncomfortable, but it's very necessary.
Definitely. I think that a big part of it too is communicating what you need. And I think sometimes it's easier to just be like, why aren't you showing up in this way? And it's like, wait, did I ask them to? Like, did I tell them that this is what I need, or that this is how this makes me feel? Because how can you expect someone to show up when you haven't even like show up in the way that you need, when you haven't even communicated what it is that you need? And sometimes you have to be okay with that kind of being a moving line, where it's like, you know what, revisiting boundaries. Like, I know in the past this made me feel best, but as I've evolved, it's not making me feel good anymore. Can we revisit this? It's just setting these expectations and then having these conversations and communicating them, and having that safe space and mutual respect of being like, this is how this is making me feel. I know that that's probably not your intention, but this is what it's making me feel. And so can we kind of work together for you to be able to authentically show up, but for it to also be communicated in a way that makes me feel good about it? I feel like is kind of that ebb and flow too.
I love that, because I heard somewhere that over communication is, especially like when you have a young child, like over communicating with your partner it's so important, because we're not mind readers, and like everyone needs something different. And I think, Jody, you kind of touched on it. It's like, if you're not explaining what you need, or even understanding yourself what you need, then how are people supposed to show up for you? So yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it should be an ongoing conversation. You know, sometimes, like, I know for my husband and I, it'll be like, hey, can you try showing up in this way? I don't really know if this is going to make me feel good, but I kind of just want to try. You know, and then you just kind of try it, and there's like, actually, I don't like that. Let's go back to the drawing board. Or it's
Scrap
like,
that.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, scrap that. You know, but it's like, it's being able to have that candor of just like, this might work. It kind of, you know, and then just like coming back to it and being like, okay, you know, like, this is great, let's keep it going, or like, let's try something else. But it's knowing that like you have the power to use your voice, I think, is just huge. And also just know that like we are a work in progress. And I think that is like a healthier mindset to have, to just know that like you're not set in stone. Like, you can continue to evolve and surround yourself by people that want to do that with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And trusting that.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you,
Yeah, that
Jody,
part's not always easy.
I know. One thing I wanted to ask you, Jody, is Michaela and I have talked about in other episodes about our experiences in the law being a more heavily male-dominated field. And with social work, my understanding is that there's actually a lot of females in it. And so can you kind of talk about, even when you are in a field that maybe has more women, there sometimes can still be difficulties, and there can be issues that arise that are still unique and that need to be addressed so that we can continue to uplift each other.
Absolutely. That is one thing I do love about my profession is it is female dominated, and I have experienced so much love and support and sisterhood. I really have in each of my diverse I'll call them occupations, but I was talking about before how we kind of jump around a little bit in our choices, I guess, for occupations.
Yeah.
I think that with that being said, sometimes it catches me off guard when I do come across somebody that does not have that same mindset, because we are all trauma informed, and I'm just like, wow, where is this coming from? And sometimes I think like it almost catches me completely off guard, because my expectations are that we're a sisterhood. We understand that we're supposed to like love and support each other here. And sometimes when I don't experience that, I'm just like wow, that came out of left field. Mm-hmm. But did it? I think that sometimes when we want to get to a certain level in our careers, we feel like we have to fight for that. And we lose sight that like if we team up, if we are a team, we're stronger. We're stronger together. But I think that we kind of have that fight mentality sometimes when we're, climbing up that corporate ladder, so to speak. So I think that with every profession, we probably experience the pendulum of difference in, our relationships. I think that we are, as a society, we're speaking out more about, supporting each other. Like our first instinct is like Mean Girls. Why? That's a funny movie, but like actually not funny in reality. Like don't, but I think that just, stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. And I think that we need to break away from that. And we really need to just support. I'm at a point in my career where I'm looking at mentoring, younger social workers that are coming up and, really wanting to not be seen as being in competition. That's not what it is. We're in a profession that is supportive. And so really view it that we should be supporting each other as much as we do our clients.
There's room for everyone. There really is.
There's room for everyone.
Damn, I need that on a pillow. I love that. I feel like it's like kind of in the same vein where if someone who has had a hard experience, sometimes people have that mentality of like it's a rite of passage. Like I had to go through this, and sometimes like that can harden an individual, where it's like I gave and I gave and I tried authentically showing up and it was just curved. It was not, like received well. And so that process can harden you and make you feel like you need to automatically show up assertive. And I think that's something that Allison and I really want to dive into, because this is something we probably talk about on like almost all of our phone calls is how to not lose our softness. Because we both want to just be us. We want to use exclamation points. We want to say, have a great day. We want to, be ourselves and also be shown respect and not convey that we can be walked all over. And so trying to kind of find that balance, because I think a lot of the times females are placed in a position of having to prove that you belong in the space that you are in. So you feel like you're already a step behind and trying to show you belong there. And that can be so exhausting. And so something I kind of want to ask you is, how can we maintain our softness and not allow this profession or the world to make us feel hardened?
I would suggest keeping your eyes on the reason that you chose this profession in the first place. Keep that as your focus. to advocate, to give a voice, to represent, to show up. Be your authentic self in every moment of every day, and don't listen to that noise. Because the idea of who we have to be, what if we're already there? You know,
Wow.
what if we're already enough? I mean, new concept. But knowing that you are in it for the right reasons and will remain authentic. We are each our own individual self. Who's to say what's right and wrong? You know, professionalism has been looked at one way for so long. You know, don't bring emotion into it. Don't show you care too much. You're taking too long on that. Like, who's saying that? You know, whose voice is that? It's remaining focused on who you are and who you want to be and who you want to be seen as is the most important.
I think we have to end on that.
I know. Like, boom.
I mean,
how do you top that? That was
I think
just
really
beautifully said.
yeah.
It's so inspiring to hear that, because I think, especially, you know, early on in my career, I would always, and I still hear this, but I would always hear like, you're too nice, or you're too friendly with opposing counsel, or you need to toughen up, or you need to be more aggressive in depositions, or you need to like lower your voice. You're too high, like squeaky voice. And it's just like exactly like you're saying, that is because they're thinking of it from a different perspective. Like, what if everything I'm doing can be just as effective? Like being friendly, extending professional courtesies. If opposing counsel has a sick child, like being empathetic and not focusing so hard on what's working for other people, and just remaining true to like what feels right for me. And I think that was so inspiring what you just said.
As you're speaking, I'm picturing, you know, how we are always building sportsmanship into our children. You know, it's after the game, you know, shake hands, say good job. You know, where did we lose that? We're, you know, you can be competitive, but you don't have to be rude or mean or unsportsmanlike. You know,
Yeah.
you can have both. And I imagine that in your field of work, you know, it can feel very personal. The game can feel very personal because somebody wants to win. But where did sportsman like conduct go? You know, it's still as important to me in our professions.
100%.
It's a really good way to look at it. Yeah. At the end of the day, we're human beings, both just trying to show up to advocate for your side. That doesn't mean that you automatically should lose respect for the other person. Because at the end of the day, like, we're just doing, I mean, like, we're so much more than our job at the end of the day. You know, like, I hope you are so passionate about what you are doing. And also, that is a small part of you. And so with that, I want to ask you our last question in this 3-part series. It's our favorite one. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are outside of your profession? Tell me about yourself.
What can I say on air? Oh my goodness. I'm somebody that wants to continue to become a better person. I love my family with everything that I am. I love you, Michaela, because you're my daughter.
I love you, Mama.
You know, I want to continue. I want to continue on this journey of helping people and that mentorship that I mentioned, and perhaps look at, you know, what lies in front of me as far as career and opportunity. And outside of work, I am still me. Still figuring out, you know, who that is.
Yeah. And I love that. We are on like the lifelong journey, and it's never too late to continue to just grow to who we want to be and look for like the next thing while also maintaining present.
Yes.
While also maintaining, while still being present.
Yes.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so much
Jody.
for showing up for this 3-part series. I feel like we could literally do like 10.
Yes.
And I'm sure that there will be many questions where like we'll probably bring you back and ask them. But thank you so much. And for those listening, if you have any questions, please send them. I didn't know whether to call you Mom or Jody. Mom Jody will be
Mama Jody.
available to answer them. Yeah. So thank you so much for tuning
Mama.
in. Yeah, that is true.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.